The HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast is powered by Cornerstone Gundog Academy. CGA is the world's most comprehensive online gun dog training resource. They've got over 160 instructional videos that includes everything you need to take your 7-week-old puppy to a finished gun dog. Visit CornerstoneGundogAcademy.com to sign up for the free preview module and begin your training journey today. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most advanced gun dog training resource on the web. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast. Original design, select grade components, superior sound, and unparalleled service. 737 takes exceptional pride in producing the finest quality, best built premium calls on the market today. They're made right here in America, and they're offered only direct to consumers through their website. Shipping in the U.S. is always free, and international orders are also accepted online. A 20-day money-back guarantee and lifetime warranty accompanies every call purchased. 737 Duck Calls. Lead the flock. Engineered for your dog, designed for travel, and built for your peace of mind, the G1 Kennel has set a new industry standard and put Gunner kennels in a category all its own. Gunner was started to protect your pet, and it continues to be at the center of everything they do. They're dedicated to building the best and safest pet travel crate on the market today, because man's best friend deserves man's best kennel. Check out their G1 series of kennels and accessories at GunnerKennels.com. Since 1898, Old Town has been building the most advanced, quality watercraft products to give you the very best experience on the water. Whether you're hunting, fishing, or enjoying a relaxing paddle on the lake, there's a boat for every type of adventurer. If you haven't seen it, check out their newest offering, the new Grab-and-Go Watercraft designed to function as your boat, blind, and retriever. The easy-to-conceal, 11-foot 9-inch, 56-pound Solo Sportsman is the ideal craft for those in search of a stable, lightweight craft that's easy to paddle and even easier to transport or stash. Designed with the hunter and angler in mind, the Solo Sportsman is equipped with thoughtful shell, tackle, and tool storage, a comfortable and adjustable seat and foot braces, an accessory track, and rod holders. Check it out at oldtowncanoe.com/sportsman. Soundgear is offering a 35% discount to the HP Outdoors listeners for their instant fit industrial and shooter products. You can head over to soundgearhearing.com and use the promo code HPO35 to claim your discount today.
Welcome to episode 170 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast. We are your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. And after 170 episodes, that was my first intro that Josh did not do. So that was kind of nifty. But anyways, today we are going to talk to our good friend, Mr. David Van de Kamp. David, how you doing?
I am well. How are you this evening, Dan?
Doing pretty good. I'm feeling a lot better than the last episode where I couldn't breathe and I was sniffling the entire time. So I can breathe.
Right, you sound better.
I'm done with my antibiotics and just some weird weather. It just got done pouring down rain, and I think we're supposed to get 6 to 10 inches starting tomorrow night. So just weird times.
It sounds great.
Weird times.
Well, yeah, at least you're getting snow. We haven't had any snow in Maryland this year. Just stepping back for a second, I think being on episode 170 is slightly less exciting than being on episode 169, following up Brady Davis and Matt McCormick. Probably not an easy thing to do, so I shall endeavor to do so, but we'll see how it goes.
And we're kind of going solo. So Josh is not with us tonight. He had to go into work tonight and stay all night, so I wish that he was on here chatting with you, but, scheduling conflicts have been our kryptonite sometimes, and I figured, why not talk to Mr. Van de Kamp, who haven't talked to in a bit, and you're always a joy to get on here. So what we are going to be talking about today is going to revolve around dog ownership, and why we thought of this was it's starting to get into summertime, off season. You see tons of people training dogs and people getting new dogs, and there's so many good things about owning a dog, and maybe that person that wants to own a dog doesn't know all the hidden things that might not be so glorious if you haven't owned a dog before. So we're gonna go into all the good stuff, maybe some of the bad things, and then just a bunch of other random stuff. So that's kind of where we're at. How's that sound?
Right. That sounds good to me. Definitely down for random things. It's sort of my forte. But I mean, I'm 42. I've been around a little bit. So
let's start with this. Let's start with this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. So last October, first trip to Canada hunting. We went with Prairie Limits Outfitters.
Feels like it's longer than that.
I know. It's crazy. What do you think? What was your experience in Canada overall, looking back and then coming back to the Atlantic Flyway?
Canada's a 10 out of 10. The Atlantic Flyway, at least this season where we are, is borderline 1.5 out of 10. I know some other guys had some good seasons, but I felt like it was an absolute just downer every year. Not to be depressing about it, but we got one goose a day. The opportunities just weren't great. The weather was warm. There was very little, I didn't see a whole lot of push of birds through. Never saw canvasbacks. At least I haven't seen them yet this year, which, usually if they're going to come, they're going to be right towards the end of the season, but nothing this year. I mean, absolutely nothing. Just a strange year, not a great year for hunting, at least where we are, in Annapolis, this year. Canada, on the other hand, was absolutely bonkers. If you're looking for that one trip to do, I would absolutely recommend getting up to Saskatchewan, get a hold of Ben, talk to the guys at Prairie Limits and book you a trip, because it is unparalleled, at least in my experience. I'm glad we did it when we did it. Because had we not done that, the whole season would have been a bust. I mean, even going out to Arkansas, we can talk about it later on. Arkansas was so warm that there was just not a whole lot of action. I squeezed the trigger twice the whole trip, and to me, it's an awful lot of work to put into to shoot two birds.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the nonstop flight rocks. In Canada, and we're actually going up in September. And there's still, I think we have 2 spots left in our group. If anyone is interested, get a hold of us, and you'll be on the podcast, because we'll definitely be doing that. But definitely,
you got me on that one, right?
Yeah, yep, you're in that one, and definitely looking forward to that. September, just gonna kick off the entire season the right way. After, like you said, we had. This is the first year in 30 plus years that I can remember not seeing people ice fishing on our lakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and like you said, we just didn't get the pushes that we usually do. And, usually towards mid-December, we get a good push of coots. And I always say it, about 10 days after the coots come through, we get a great push of divers. And same with you. I know guys that, they have tons of scouts all over the place, and they had great years, but they really, really put the work in. So, you can have good years if you have the time and the resources to be out there. I think, not unfortunately, but at this age in the game with kids and work and, the crew's priorities are a little different, and we get out when we can and do well when we can. So, but like you said, the lakes, man, we just didn't. I'll say it again. We had so many mallards, so many puddle ducks before season started, and once it started, they were gone. And we had tons of mergansers around, and it was. I mean, I have videos of my dog bringing mergansers back left and right, but I never posted them up just because it's not prime.
Not good for the gram.
Not great for the gram, but they're pretty funny. Yeah, merganser getting dog. I kept calling Kimber. So, but again, get to travel a little bit, go up to Canada again. I'm already looking forward to that. That's September, so we're 6 months away.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the other great thing about the Canada trip was I had absolutely no trouble getting in or getting out. All my luggage was where it was supposed to be. My gun had absolutely no problems. If you're going to fly to Canada, I'd highly recommend United Airlines.
Yeah. What about Air Canada?
No, my experience was very different than yours. I know yours was miserable to say the least, especially on the return leg.
Yeah, it
I
was.
think we all felt badly for you.
But anyway, so the one guy, he said you can do the paperwork, but also you can take your firearm to an international airport and essentially get a passport for your specific firearm. So I think by the time we go there, I'm gonna have that done. And if I don't have that done, I'm just gonna rent a gun from Ben and not even worry about any of it.
Right,
So,
keep it simple.
yep. But anyway, I'm looking forward to that. And let's talk a little bit about dogs.
Okay.
I think
Dogs.
it'll be fun. So, you own Texas,
Yes.
a Southern Oak Kennels dog, which
Yes.
for the people that remember, Mr. Van de Kamp rode down to Mississippi with me to get Boo, which is my father-in-law's dog, and then you ended up flying down to get Texas, right?
That is correct.
For anyone that is getting a dog far out of state, how was your experience flying and picking up the dog and doing that whole trip?
It was incredibly easy. I would recommend that. As much as I enjoyed being in the truck with you for 40 some odd hours. That was fun, but getting a dog into the airport and out of the airport, flying with a dog, it's incredibly easy. You get yourself a soft-sided crate. The smaller ones that are made for small pets or puppies, they sell them at PetSmart, Petco, any sort of one of those pet stores, and it's a breeze. And once you're on the plane, just make sure the dog goes to the bathroom before you go into the airport. Once you're on the plane, like everybody says, that dog, the minute that cabin's pressurized and you're rolling back from the gate, that dog is asleep. Texas was out cold, and he didn't stir until we were off the plane, out of the airport, and off the little shuttle bus at BWI to the parking lot where my truck was. And I was opening up the truck when he started, squirming around inside of his little travel kennel. I mean, it couldn't be easier.
You had a direct flight.
I did.
Is that right?
Yeah, I hate connections.
So I try to look for little potty areas when I go to different airports if I have time. Like as I'm walking through, it's something that I try and find. It seems like more and more are getting these little areas for your pets to go. It's like the AstroTurf, and they go potty, you clean it up, and you're on your way.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I think there's a lot to, which I don't know how, when you're talking like parvo and stuff like that, how worrisome that is. I'll have to talk to Barton about that. And because if you have tons of dogs in the concentrated 4x4 area using restroom,
Yeah.
that might be worrisome.
Yeah, but I think that the type of folks that are going to take a dog to the airport are probably the kind of folks that are going to have their dogs vaccinated. It's
True.
not like you're stopping at, you're walking your dog next to a truck stop. I think it's probably a lesser chance that you're going to end up with a dog that is sick from using the doggy, potty at the airport than, the Loves or the Flying J or whatever place that's easy and accessible off the highway. Just a thought, but I bet you it's probably true.
That's very good point.
Although, you're bringing a puppy through and puppy hasn't been vaccinated. So maybe, you want to take extra precautions and, there's always places outside of the airport on the way in where you can find a field. Like you and I found that hospital for Boo, or, there's that kiss and ride area and there's that kiss and ride area that Barton recommends, if you're going to fly out of Memphis. So there's places, you just got to be smart about it.
Nice. So how old is Texas right now?
He's got to be going on 1 year and 3/4.
Yeah.
Close to 2. I mean, after a year and a half, I kind of stopped keeping track. I know he's less than 2 and older than 1.5.
Wait, so you don't like throwing birthday parties?
No, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I was just wondering. I kind of coined you for a
I mean,
birthday party dog kind of guy. At
no,
least
I'm
like
not
a.
really a birthday party guy. Anyway, I could find out how old he is, grab his paperwork,
That's all right.
but I know that he's got to be coming up on 2. I think he was born in. I want to say he was born in June, so we're a few months out. Picked him up in August. Doing the quick math, I'm pretty sure he was a June pup. Picked him up in August, so that math kind of makes sense.
There you go. Yeah, year and a half.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so you get him home, and you take him to Matt Peel, correct?
That is correct.
How?
I started him. Well, actually, that's not entirely how it happened. So I started him on Cornerstone because I won the free membership. I did a lot of the the placing, the
foundation work.
Yeah, exactly. That stuff and really kind of got him off on the right foot or on the right track. But I was finding, and I talked about this when we were in Canada, but I was finding that I just wasn't having the time to dedicate to training him that I had hoped that I would. I've got a job. I'm out the door no later than 6 a.m. I'm usually home by 5. But when it gets dark early, you run out of time. Things get complicated. Life takes on, it does its thing. And I was just feeling badly that I wasn't able to give him the training attention that he deserved. So I reached out to Matt Peel, and it just so happened that Meredith was my wife. Meredith was on board with sending him away, but she wouldn't let him leave the state of Maryland. So luckily, I got Matt, and he's about an hour away on the eastern shore of Maryland. Great dude, knows what he's doing, and was able to take techs for several months. So I felt very good about that. I got back a dog that had a lot more skill than he had when I dropped him off. Anybody will tell you, it's clearly not a finished dog, but a dog that has got a lot of the basics down, which was good. Basics for retrieving, not just your standard stuff.
Nice. So, what is your house set up for other listeners as far as your yard and places that you're able to train? Because this might be something that these guys want the dogs, and then their yard might not be huge, and they might be in the city and can't find the parks or anywhere to go to train.
Yeah.
That's something that you really need to think about.
Yeah. I do not have a big house. I live. I have a probably 2,200 square foot home on a quarter-acre lot with a very small backyard and an even smaller postage size front yard that is essentially taken up by a driveway, 2 cars, and a boat trailer in the yard. So for me to train Texas, I had to go and find places for him to do that. So I would take him to the middle school because there's lots of open fields there. There's a ballpark that's kind of in my neighborhood that I could use. But you really have to kind of think about those things. If you're going to bring, a Labrador home, they're going to need exercise. If you want to train them to hunt, you're going to need space to do that. And you're going to want to know what those areas are, where those areas are. And, it's interesting because you look and you go, hey, there's this big ass field over here. I can use it for training my dog. And you show up on Saturday morning and it just so happens that soccer league started up. So you got to be out of there by, 7:45 because you're going to set the fields. And you better be picking the poop up and you better not be leaving trash. And people take notice of these things. If you're going to be out there with, a retriever trainer, a bumper launch or something of that nature, and, you pull the trigger, it goes bang, people take notice of that because if you're in a more urban area, you're squeezed in between a lot of folks. So you'll get, the cops will drive by and check you out, or, especially if you're doing it in a public school field. It's amazing.
Wasn't that Chad Duckworth had the SWAT team come in on him?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Crazy.
Yeah, it pays to always be polite and friendly with your local law enforcement officers, because when they roll up and you're in the field training your dog, they're nicer to you. They figure it out pretty quickly, but little life tip from me to anyone listening to this: be nice to the police.
Yeah.
It's much more likely they'll be nice to you in return.
And probably it's not a bad idea to go ahead and call the station and let them know that you're going to be training with some kind of launcher that has empty shells in it and making that bang sound.
Yeah, that would be smart. I didn't do that.
So did you get stopped?
I just went straight to shooting. I had a county police officer come by and check me out. It was funny because she came by to check me out after I'd been going to this field for a while, and she stopped and I started talking. She's like, "Oh, okay, so you're the guy who's out here every Saturday and Sunday morning." I'm like, yeah, that's me. She's like, "Okay, cool," and it was no big deal, but it was interesting that she had noticed that I was out there before and hadn't yet stopped to kind of nail down what exactly it was that I was doing. And so that might have just been the morning when somebody called and said, I'm hearing something that sounds like gunshots. And the rest of the time she'd just driven by and noticed some donk sitting in a field, doing nothing.
On a bucket.
On a bucket, yeah. Hey, look at this idiot on a bucket watching a dog run. Yeah. What kind of moron is that?
So
that would be me, ma'am.
So do you feel from the time that you got Texas back and using Cornerstone and training as much as you can, do you feel that he's advancing, or you're at least keeping his skills up to where they need to be?
Yeah, I feel that he's advancing, but so it's interesting. You train. I've never had a hunting dog before, so this is the first one. I've had dogs my entire life, but never one that was dedicated to, I'm going to train this dog to hunt. I went out, I found the breeder, went through the whole rigmarole to find the right pairing for the right dog, and I did. So this is the first time doing that, and what you don't know, you can go out and hunt with some of your buddies, some dudes and they have a dog and they've got their own dogs. You're like, oh, there's nothing to it. It's a total fallacy. It absolutely changes everything. So, going out this first season, I thought, okay, we're ready to go. We're good to go. Man, there's so much that I had to learn and understand it. And he still had to learn. There are so many things that you find out pretty quickly, like, all right, he's not as steady as I thought he was going to be. So I better hold on to him, all right, the first retrieve, was a crow. Again, I told you, it was like a slow. Yeah, it's fun, sitting on this, right next to the South River. I got Mike Pitzer and Teddy LeKay with me, and we're waiting. We see these bubbleheads of trade. We're like, all right, man, we're smashing bubbleheads. They're stupid. They're gonna come back through, and they never did. And so we're sitting there, and we see these two crow working the way, across the river towards us. And I think Buddy's like, if those things get close to me, I'm just gonna whack them. All right. And sure enough, they did it. And Buddy and I'm sorry, not Buddy, but Teddy and Mike dropped these two crow, and I'm sitting there and I'm with Texas. I don't even have my gun with me. And I'm like, oh man, am I going to send my dog to get a crow? And I looked over at them. They're like, hey man, send the dog. It's like, son of a gun. So I just, all right, Tex, and let him go. And he's just out like a bolt of lightning, and he runs down into the water. And he grabs this thing and he brings it back, and he just kind of stops for a moment. And he drops it, on the beach. And he's looking at it like, this is just not right. And he put his paw on him, like pressed on him, like, what is this thing? And it pushed the air out of the crow, and he went, caw! And Tex, he jumped up, right? Like, go jump back. And I was like, oh man, please. You hear all these like, oh yeah, that one thing that really spooked my dog. He was never the same again. I'm like, it better not be this crow. So he picked the crow up and he brought it back, and I sent him to pick up the other one, and he was a little weary about it. But yeah, it's always fun. Social media can be, your friend, and it could also be your worst enemy. And you see all these posts, you follow, all these guys, and their dogs are crushing your retrieves at 3.5 months, and bring it back honkers or whatever. At least that's what the pictures make it seem like. And you start to compare your dog and yourself and your sorry state of affairs, and you could go down a rabbit hole pretty quickly. But yeah, it was an adventurous first retrieve for him.
Well, that's one. With Kimber, she was just a small dog. So I mean, she was birthday's in May. She was 2.5 before I got her out in the field, and now I'd bring birds home, and she would, we'd fetch in the yard and train a little bit with some dead birds, but I mean, I'd bring when she was 1.5. I brought a honker home, like a big old goose, and man, she's pulling it backwards, and I was like, "There's no way, like if that thing was still semi alive, that she would be
Be
ready."
losing it.
She just wouldn't want to do it. And then that following September, so she's 2.5. One of the first birds that I shot, it sailed like 150, 200 yards, and she was like a bolt of lightning, ran this thing down. And I have video of it with just a cloud of dust and just smashed this bird and brought it all the way back. I was like, yep, I'm glad I waited for that one. So it was kind of a pain because I wanted to get her out, but it was just the right thing to do to wait and let her come into her own, because it could, especially when you get some of those big geese that are mean and they just got shot and only have a wing and half life. Man, they can be mean. So
Yeah,
that was a
I remember when we were on the Eastern Shores, me and Morgan Kupfer and a few other guys, and we finally got in some geese. I had Tex with us and sent him on his first goose retrieve, and somebody crippled this bird. Remember, we only get like one bird a pop, right? So this crippled bird, and I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna find out. And I sent him, and he lit out across this field, saw this bird just kind of like flopping around a little bit, and he just absolutely just destroyed it. I mean, in a good way, right? Like he was right on top of it, pounced on it, picked it up. The bird's got his dumb head kind of like looking around as Texas is bringing him back. And it was, one of those moments where you're all like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? Is he going to, yeah. Everybody in the blind is just like this explosion of joy because he finally, got his opportunity to prove himself. And it's like, wow, he's a man now. So yeah, I mean, it's amazing to watch the dogs. It really is.
So do you
put it together.
Do you and Morgan train together now?
We have a few times. I'm certain that we'll get back into it now that the season's over, and I think his dog Rise is a little bit older. I know that he's been pretty diligent, with the CGA stuff and the what was it, 42? Was it 42
52.
plus?
Yeah,
52 plus. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's number of weeks in a year. Again, I'm not going to claim to be the smartest man in the world. My dog was born in June. So, things to think about, right? So if you're on the fence and you're thinking about getting a dog, you got to know, like, do I have room? Do I have the time? I think it would be a shame to get an awesome dog, to put in the work, to put in the time, to find the breeder, to find the right dog, to bring him home, and then have him in a crate all day long and find out that, your job, as a lawyer or as whatever it is that you do, just sucks up so much of your time that you're not able to dedicate, enough time to being with your dog and to training your dog and bonding with your dog. So you want to think about that for sure. You want to think about the area around your house. You want to think about who's in your house. Your children, are they in a place where they're going to be okay with the dog? Do you have just a toddler that's a total lunatic that might, poke at the dog with a pen? I don't know. I mean, consider these things before you bring an animal home.
I think about that often because right now, like my two dogs, Cody is a Australian Shepherd Lab mix, and then Kimber is my yellow lab, my hunting dog, and Dawson will be 5 in May, and my twin girls are 6, and the girls don't mess with the dogs too much, but Dawson will, he'll try and wrestle with them, and he's in this ninja state where he thinks he's a Power Ranger or something and just spins and kicks. And I mean, if that was a puppy on the floor, it would probably be freaked out, right? So if he's trying to put a saddle on a puppy and ride it around, that could cause some issues. So that's a great point. Definitely, I don't know what labs are so loving with kids though, and I don't know how badly a kid can mess with a dog.
I think that dogs are pretty pliable unless they've, like if you're getting a dog, I wouldn't trust a younger child with a dog that I brought home from, say, like the SPCA. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it was beaten, abused. I don't know why it's in the shelter. Not to say that shelter dogs aren't deserving of a loving home, but I'd be very selective about the home that I brought one into. When you bring in a puppy in, I think it's a little bit different. Just as long as somebody's keeping an eye on, on Dawson or, on the future Ric Flair that wants to, jump off the couch and
drop elbows.
Drop elbows on your dog. I think that's probably okay, but something to be aware of. Other things to think about are, the cost of entry to get a good dog is the cheapest part of the ownership process. I think, you're going to spend, if you want to get a good dog, odds are you're going to spend, a decent amount of cash. And I don't know what different breeders cost, but it's certainly not an inexpensive thing to do. But that's just getting in, right? That's all right. Now I'm in the door. What now? And now you got to think about all the things that you need to do in order to raise this dog. You got to think about the damage that a puppy will do to your house. The dog's going to go to the bathroom on the floor. He's going to ruin a carpet or two. He's going, it just is what it is. You might get a dog that chews. These are things to be aware of. Then you start thinking about, okay, well, what am I going to feed him? So food isn't necessarily cheap if you're getting good stuff, and you probably should get good stuff if you're putting the time and energy and money into raising and training a gun dog. Vet bills. Nobody thinks about vet bills. You think, I'm going to take them in. We'll do vaccinations. We'll do our like yearly wellness checkups. Not a big deal. Well, that's true until, your dog is throwing up. I went to this with Texas where for some reason, all of a sudden it was diarrhea all the time and he was throwing up all the time. And we just couldn't figure out what it was. Took him to the vet. They gave him some anti-nausea medication. They pumped it full of fluids. $500 later, I'm out the door. And I did that at least 3 times. I had to take him back to get x-rays done. Then I took him back to get a sonogram done because after the x-rays were inconclusive, they're thinking, well, he's got to have a blockage if he's just throwing up all the time. Maybe we just couldn't see it. Maybe whatever's in there is radiolucent. Maybe it's like rawhide he chewed or something, even though I haven't given him rawhide. And then we got sonogram, and that was inconclusive. So at the end of the day, I'm out $2,500 in vet bills that I wasn't expecting to have. And Meredith comes up to me, my wife Meredith comes up to me. She goes, maybe it's his food. And I'm like, well, I had him on Eukanuba. I started him on Pro Plan, had him on Eukanuba. Something wasn't right. And she says, try him on one of these grain-free foods. All right, yeah, I'll try that. And magically, it all went away. And I know folks are, well, what about his heart? What about this? And I'm not a vet. I'll certainly have this conversation with a vet in a little while, but I can tell you that as soon as I got him off of, foods with grain in it, the diarrhea cleared up. He stopped throwing up. And it was like night and day. So things to think about, there's unexpected issues. The law of unintended consequences is always there. You have the best of intentions and you end up having something that you love dearly, but something that can be very expensive. You want to make sure that you understand that that's a possibility and that you're in, and you really ought to be in a position to be able to handle those things financially if you're going to do something like this. So, think about that up front, not to be a Debbie Downer about it, but just to be absolutely honest about the experience. It can be a difficult, frustrating, and expensive undertaking. So
yeah, and even Barton has said that when we've had him on before. If it's a deterrent, the initial cost of a kennel and just the price of the dog to get the dog home, if that is a struggle for you, then you should really think twice about bringing that home, because they become your family, and you definitely need to treat them as such and make sure that they're taken care of in every aspect. So definitely a good point.
Yep.
And I was looking at where I got Kimber, which is going to be 11 years ago. When I bought her, she was like $850 or $900, and now that breeder is up to, I think, $1,500 for a puppy. So
Yep.
I think most, and that is a line of master hunters and just great lineage of dogs, great bloodline. So I think 1,500 to 2,500 is a I'd say pretty good price range for a good decent gun dog with some good lines in it. You
Right.
can
And
expect
you
to
know
be
what?
in that range.
Right. And it's worth every penny. Going back, like I've had dogs my entire life. I'm so impressed with Texas, and I'm so impressed. Before I got him, I didn't really think a whole lot about it. I mean, quite frankly, my yellow lab that died earlier this year, we rescued her when she was a year old. Okay, and she was nuts. Very, very territorial, a loving, sweet animal. But man, if you don't know us, don't come into our house, because she chased a dude who came to work on our house. He was putting gutters in. She chased him up this fence and ripped his pants off.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this dude comes just lumbering up the driveway. He's got this. We had a tree that fell on our garage, ripped the gutters off. So we got a guy to come fix the gutters, and he's coming up the driveway with gutters, hanging over his shoulders. And my dog Madeline saw him. She was out back with Meredith. She saw this dude coming up the driveway, and she basically treated him, and then jumped up and ripped his pants off.
What?
So you got this big fat carpenter hold on to this fence with no pants on,
Oh,
screaming. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. This dog is good. Please don't bite. Please don't bite him. I don't want to get sued. So she had her fair share of, let's call them protective run-ins with folks that she didn't know.
Wow. So did he put the gutters up?
Yes, he did. Yeah. I mean, he wanted to get paid too. So, and he did a great job. Which is nice. We made sure the dog was inside. We put an addition on the house that we live in now, and they had these Latino guys that were doing the carpentry, and they did not like Madeline. And we found we were going around looking at the work they were doing. They had drawn a picture of a dog with a giant mouth and teeth, and it said like El Gato Loco on it. Like, Jesus, the dog. Oh man, she was awesome, but she was absolutely unpredictable. Which is, getting back to my point. You put in the time, make sure you get find a breeder who has a good reputation at the very least. The difference in the dog that you get from a breeder that knows what he or she is doing, I think, is probably worlds different than what you get from somebody who's doing it in the backyard or has very little experience. And ultimately, you get what you pay for, right? Do your due diligence, make sure you know what you're getting, and then feel comfortable with the money you're investing. Because again, Texas couldn't be a better dog. I mean, worlds better than any dog I've ever had. And everybody loves this dog. So.
And I've heard that from multiple people, one being my brother, who absolutely loves Texas, and he's been around Kimber, and we've had some good dogs. So I think there's some validity in not just thinking that you have the best dog. I think you have a really good pup on your hands. So
yeah, I just want to make sure I give him all the opportunities to do what he needs to do and do his thing.
Right.
Which I think is another thing to think about, right? So if you're in Kansas, if you're in a more productive flyway, it's absolutely a great place to have a dog. If you're gonna be in a slower flyway like we are right now, I think it's something to take into consideration. You may not have the opportunity to hunt your dog as much as you think that you'd be able to. Just because, if for no other reason than the limits are less, you have less opportunity. There's less room to run. There's less room to hunt. Just things to consider.
Yeah, just shorter hunts. If you actually have some birds show up.
Yeah,
and that's one thing that was always eye opening. You see Barton might take 2 or 3 dogs out on a hunt, and each dog is getting 10, 15 retrieves. You're like, man, my dog. I feel bad, like depending on the hunt. Yeah, it's just not the same when you go to different flyways and places that have a lot of birds. So,
Yep.
So what is your typical training day when you do take him out? Time and kind of length, because that's another thing. The guys in Kansas, they're running long retrieves. You might have birds out 300-400 yards. That in a lot of areas we hunt, our fields aren't even that big. So
That's correct.
if we're hunting geese, like 100 yards, 150 yards might be max, which
Yep.
we've done a few of
Yeah.
those. But as far as the training goes, what's your setup there?
About the same. Like you said, I'm training on ball fields. So your average ball field, it's either a baseball diamond that is also a soccer field or a football field. So, I think if we're stretching it, we're getting out maybe past 150 yards. A lot of it is how far that retriever trainer will launch. I've got a couple different options to put on it. I mean, you got one that looks like a football that, you could probably put a couple 100 yards depending upon how much arc you put on it. But usually probably within 100 to 150 yards. 100 yards probably on the average is about as far as he's going. Where we hunt, you're not going to go much farther than that. If you're in a big, long field, he's going to be able to track that bird going down. He's going to be able to go get it. And even if you have to go help him out a little bit, he's going to find the bird. But I'm by no means, a good dog trainer. So it's using a lot of stuff from CGA and just trying to find the things that he seems to be good at. I do a lot of discipline stuff. So it's, putting him on place, walking away, putting the bumper or whatever it is I'm working with as far away as possible, walking around and then sending him, then bringing him back and, getting a lot of repetition in there. And I mean, this is just, I'm scratching the surface. Cause again, like I didn't grow up doing this stuff, man. This is all new to me. Anybody that thinks, training a dog is easy is, unfortunately, I think, going to be in for a surprise. It's not easy. It's some of it is a lot of fun, but some of it is also very frustrating. You send the dog, you want that dog, bring yourself back to me. And the dog's like, yeah, whatever, sucker. I'm over here now, and running past you. It's like, I know I shouldn't yell at this dog, but I'm going to yell at the dog. And, you find yourself like, man, I can't imagine what I look like to anybody watching me right now. Because 42-year-old man, I've got, the average amount of responsibility in life. And this dog is absolutely making me look like a lunatic right now. And all I want him to do, Dan, is just bring the bumper back to me. Don't run past me like a punk kid. Just come on back here, give it to me. I will send you, because I know you love chasing this thing. I'll send you again and again and again. So, I think there's plenty of resources out there. CGA is certainly a great one. I think it's important that you find some ritual or some habit into it. So it's, for me, I can't do it during the week, especially when it's dark by 5, right? Because I leave in the dark and come home in the dark.
Right.
But on the weekends, it's like, okay, Saturday morning, I'm up, it's 6 a.m., whatever time it is, up trying to get to the field to train the dog before soccer, lacrosse, whatever's coming up, and then do the same thing, try to get out to the same field on Sunday morning, get that done before I go to church, like at least give them a couple days a week. I'm envious of the folks that have tons of land and tons of time. I have neither.
Yeah. And it makes it tough, but I mean, you're making it work and you realize that he does need the time, and that's good that you're giving it to him. So,
Yep.
What any other retrieves or hunts that made you a proud dog dad?
I think every time he retrieves makes me a proud dog dad, but really, because you're like, wow, he's actually doing it. He did it again. I can't believe it. It's a proud moment. It's very, very, it's such a neat thing to watch it come together. But I'll tell you, you got to be on top of it. And I'll tell you a cautionary tale from our trip to Arkansas this year. And so I took my dog, I took my son. We went out to hunt with Dusty Barber and his guys on the deck. And I think it was probably the first day we were there. And we were hunting in this field and something just wasn't working. So there was this little ravine behind the field, right? Kind of almost like a I don't want to call it a drainage ditch, but that's kind of what it was, right?
Okay.
And so all right, let's get back behind this thing and see if the birds, act differently. Maybe they won't be flaring. There's something that they didn't like. All right, cool. So we all go duck behind this thing, and I'm sitting there, and I got my son. I'm sitting next to Brian McDonald, and for whatever reason, I was like, I'm gonna space out a little bit. I'm gonna get myself 10 or 15 yards away from everybody. I just feel a little bit too cramped up in here, and so took myself and my gun and my dog down this ditch, and then I laid my gun down facing the field, like muzzle awareness, important stuff, right? So I put my gun down, safety's on, the whole 9 yards. So we got birds working, right? The dog's like, oh, there's birds going. So he's looking around. I got him by the collar because now he's not in his field house. And he kind of swings around and he steps on my gun, steps on the safety, steps on the trigger, gun goes off. And I want to tell you, man, if you're not expecting a gun to go off in your vicinity with you, next to you, it'll wake you up in a hurry.
Yeah.
And it was such a point, like it's just one of those moments that I'm never ever going to forget. It's one of those moments where I go, but for the grace of God, I've got my gun pointing in the right direction. I've got my 9-year-old son who is no more than 10 yards away from me. Gun's not pointing towards him, it's pointing in the right direction. Little things that you just thank God, like this could have been a really, 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 really bad situation. And ultimately it was just, call it an accidental discharge, whatever it was. But you start to put these pieces together and okay, what's going on here that led to this? Well, all right, I'm going to go hunting in Arkansas. I'm going to bring my son. That's, you bring your kid hunting, you're focusing on your son, especially if your kid's, he's got a gun or whatever it is, you're spending a lot of time making sure that he's good. Are you okay? Are you comfortable? Is everything all right? Do you know what we're trying to do here? Do you understand? You spend a lot of time on that. And you add your dog into it. That's another layer of things. And every time you add something to the experience, to what you're doing, the odds that something weird happens goes up. And, the first one, it goes up a little bit. The second one, I think it goes up a lot. And you increase the chances that, you'll forget something weird's going to happen, whatever it is. And that was one of those moments where I just stopped. And I said, okay, all right, I'm done with the dog for the weekend. And my dog, what felt like a mile is, probably every bit a half of a mile, through mud and down these little, across these drainage ditches and everything. And I put him in his kennel and I just said, for the rest of the weekend, I don't care about the dog. I'm just going to focus on having a good time with my son. But it's just, you don't think about these things. And you hear a story every now and then about a gun going off because a dog knocked it over in the blind or something like that. Just the simple fact that I had the gun laying the way it was laying with the safety on, but it's an A400. It's got that big fat safety on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he stepped on it, one single motion. He stepped on it and then stepped off and hit the trigger on the way, and boom. And it's like, man, you don't think about these things until they happen, and it's scary. And it's just another one of those things. You got to be really, these things could be a lot of fun. They could be rewarding. They could be frustrating. They could be dangerous. And it's, just being vigilant about what you're doing. And even when you're doing that, you think you've got it all figured out. It's amazing how quickly something like that can happen.
And that's, you're in a new situation. You get him out of his field house. You're laying there holding on to his collar. He's getting excited, like a lot going on that, you're not in a blind. It's just a whole new situation for everyone. And that's, thank God that you did have it facing the right way. And, that could have been bad. Could have been
real bad. Yeah. I mean, I still think about that. Thank God Brian McDonald was there because he would have absorbed the whole blast, I'm assuming. He's only like 8'4". No, he's like 7'7". He's 7 foot, right?
7, 8, yeah.
He's huge. He's huge. He's a wonderful guy. He's a big dude. And my 65-pound 9-year-old sitting next to him. But yeah, man, I mean, shoot, it could have been really bad. And that's the kind of thing that's one of the things from last season I think about over and over again. Is how lucky I am that ended up the way that it did, because it could have been so much worse.
Mm.
And I was with a good group of guys, so it was holy smokes, I can't believe that happened. But at the same time, it was everybody's okay, and it's understandable, in a way. So
Yeah, that takes
But
me
yeah.
back to that kid here locally in my town that
shot himself in the stomach, right?
shot himself in the stomach. Had his
Yeah, that's it.
gun loaded in the sled and pulling stuff out and just hoping more birds come in. And during that time, it got caught somehow, and
Yeah.
he wore the entire thing. So
Yeah, thinking back on it, Dan, I probably at that point should have just said, okay, I'm gonna load my gun. If we're going back here, I got a dog who's not in the house anymore, or not in his field house anymore. I got my son. There's just too many things going on. And a smarter man would have said, okay, I'm just gonna focus on the dog. I'm gonna leave my gun behind. And in hindsight, I should have done that, but got away with it.
Yep, hindsight 2020 though, and it happened, and you learned, and that story right there might put a thought process into someone that goes out in the field next year and they decide not to load their gun and take a different path and might help someone. So hey,
Yeah.
that's why we do the show, right? So we can,
For real,
so
yeah.
everyone can learn and be safe.
Yep.
and keep going. So
yeah, I have no problem being 100% honest about things. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's everything we do is learning. It's trying to get better, trying not to make mistakes other people have made, especially when those mistakes can have dire consequences. So, yeah. So I think thinking about bringing a dog home, two more points I think I would make.
Okay.
If you want to get a dog and you got a wife or a girlfriend who's saying, no way, we're not doing it. We're not getting a dog. We don't need a dog. I don't want a dog. If you got a girlfriend that's telling you this, I'm going to tell you straight up, you don't have a contract with her. You go get your dog. And if she has a problem with that, no kidding. You don't know her anything. You don't know her anything. If you're without a contract, so what? You don't like my dog? That's fine. Go find yourself a new girlfriend. Okay. There's plenty of them out there. Don't ever let them, don't let anyone without a contract try to tell you that you can't do something you want to do. Because it doesn't get any better. And if you capitulate, then you're just reinforcing their thought process. They can tell you what to do. You don't want that in your life. B.
Great point.
Yes. B. If you got a wife who says that you aren't going to get a dog, you either A, have to come up with a really clever way to get it done, like some Facebook stunt where you put a picture of a puppy on your profile and let all of her friends, and it worked, right?
Absolute genius move.
Yeah, that was a high risk, high reward kind of moment, but it worked.
So for people that don't know, David changed his Facebook profile picture to a picture of a black lab puppy, and
yes.
everyone in everyone in HP group commented on his personal page and said, "That's awesome! I'm so excited for you! Such a cute puppy!" And before you know it, his wife was cussing at him, and then she said, "It is really cute, though." And before you know it, he had a deposit down on a dog.
Yeah. Right. Well, the best part was that her friends were reaching out to her, congratulating her on the puppy, and wondering why she didn't tell them that we were getting a puppy. And she's like, what is this? And I was like, well, and she's like, well, he is really cute. And I was like, yes, I got her. So that's the first point on how to get it past your wife. The second one is, if she says she doesn't want it, this is the only time I'm going to tell you that you should do something that your wife doesn't want you to do. Okay. And I'm going to go back to the contract. Because you have a contract, a very legally binding contract that's very hard and expensive to walk away from, the odds that she leaves you over getting a dog, very, very low. So you're going to get the forgiveness factor here, right? So go get the dog anyway, bring it home. Before you know it, that woman is going to love that dog more than she loves you. And Meredith loves Texas. She did not want, if she's being honest with you, she didn't want us to get a puppy. She's like, all right, do it, whatever, but she didn't want a puppy. And now she tells me on the regular, at least once a day, how much she loves this dog.
There you go. And unless a girl as a child got attacked by a dog, and is deathly afraid of dogs. Every girl likes puppies.
Yes.
So you put him in front of a puppy, you take him to a shelter, do whatever. Like, chances are, if you want to take a dog home that day, you probably could. So, but
Yeah.
that's
For sure.
But then you have the full responsibility that we talked about the entire rest of the show, that you need to man up and make sure that you're taken care of.
Well, if you're doing it right, if you're living the right way, you're manning up and taking care of your family, and that dog's an extension of your family. So you're taking care of that dog, and it's rewarding. Just like taking care of your kids is rewarding. Just like, being there for your wife, good, bad, or indifferent, is ultimately a very rewarding thing.
Yes, sir. All right, man. So
we talked a lot about dogs.
So it was a great chat, and I wanted to move on to one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Delta waterfowl.
Yeah, Delta, man. We're pretty excited about this. We are opening up a chapter right here in my town. Is the Greater Annapolis chapter of Delta Waterfowl. The greater. What do we call it? It's the Greater Annapolis chapter. So. We're excited. I got some good guys that are on my leadership team. My co-chairman is Craig Ulip. He's a great guy. He's been really key for setting up all these. We call it the HP at HPA, but the HP Happy Hour at Heroes Pub in Annapolis, where we've got on the regular probably bringing in 20 some odd guys and crushing wings and drinking beers and sodas and whatever and having a great time. And we've done a bunch of those. So. We're turning this thing into a Delta chapter. I've got Morgan Comfort. He'll be he's our secretary, and I've got a guy named Sam Roeder who is part of the group as well. He's on the page, listens to the podcast, and he's a younger guy. This is really cool. He's finishing up his finance degree at St. Mary's College. He's a baseball pitcher on their team right now, and it's exciting to see and know that you've got. Again, like I'm 40. I think Morgan's like 30 something. Kragers is right there in the middle. I think he's 36. And Sam is I think he's 21. So we have, we've got a nice age range when we're really working to recruit more folks into this thing. And just having, younger guys coming into the fold, I think is exciting. So I think it's going to be a really great group. And, one of our the core tenets for our group, at least for the Greater Annapolis chapter, is we are going to have a lot of fun. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fun to me is the number one component of what we need to be doing, because, I don't care how much you think you're passionate about something, you love doing something. If it sucks to do because it's complicated or it's just not fun and the people you're hanging out with aren't fun to hang out with, it's not going to stick. So we're going to have a ton of fun. And we're just really excited about kicking it off, man. We had, I'm going to butcher his name, Matt Neasley. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, right. Nailed it.
He's our regional as well. So just saw him the other weekend.
Yep. So he was at my house on Sunday. Introduced him to my father-in-law and my wife because they were working on some carpentry project at the house, and the kids were running around. And I had Craig was over, so we really got into it. We got all the paperwork taken care of. We got to get my treasurer to sign off on a couple of forms, but we are all but live. So we're very excited. So
are there any other
great thing?
Are there any other chapters near you?
There are not. So there's a Midshore chapter that is in Delaware. There is a chapter in Havre de Grace, I believe, which is that's probably an hour and 20 up the road. There's a chapter in, I want to say La Plata, which is every bit of an hour and change south of us. So nothing that is close to where you could say this is a chapter that I would want to join. Is convenient to me so that I could participate. Right. So nothing in Annapolis. There's a big DU presence in Annapolis, which is awesome. I think we offer something a little bit different. I think specifically to the Annapolis DU crowd. A bunch of great guys, but they've been doing things, the way that they do things for a long time, and I think that we offer, maybe a different look, maybe a slightly different crowd, and just really, I think at our core, a bunch of guys that are passionate about waterfowling. but want to have just a ton of fun. I want this to turn into something that we just can't wait to do. Turn into something we're networking, we're finding more hunters, we're bringing more folks into the fold, we're doing more for conservation. We're finding more opportunities to hunt with different people in different places, and I think that it's got so much to offer. And I'm absolutely thrilled about doing it. And I've got binders full of ideas, and just great guys that I'm working with, and got a long list of folks in the spreadsheet that I built out for this thing that are ready to come on board as soon as we are officially live.
I was going to say, you put that up in a group and you had 20 some people say, yeah, I'm in, like right away. So
yeah,
like, holy cow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, we've already got, just through the HP happy hours, man, we've got a core group. And now we can expand that. We can bring more people in. We can do more for conservation. A lot of us have kids, right? So, Sammy's ready to go. He's going to get a membership. Craig's kid, Connor's going to get a membership. It's, when you look at the things that we're trying to do, we've got a lot of veterans in our area, so we can do veteran hunts. We've got a lot of, guys like myself who've got kids that are either already into it or will want to be into it. So we can have the youth hunts. It makes all the sense in the world for what we're trying to do. And if we're not trying to grow our ranks, we're not trying to bring more people into the fold. I read an article today about, the hunting world is dying out because there's not enough folks that are coming back or that are starting in the sport. There's folks that are leaving it. There's baby boomers that are getting out of it. And the money that's raised through duck stamps, through the Pitt and Robertson Act, through all these things that bring money into your state and local and the federal, programs to prop up the species to keep this thing going. They're getting squeezed. So, if we're not doing what we can do, we're not trying to educate folks, we're not trying to increase our ranks, I don't know what we're doing.
Yep. No, man, and then, you have a couple, like a weekend here or there, and you put, wood duck boxes together and have the kids out, drilling holes and doing all that fun stuff. Dude, it's a good time. Or even, waterway cleanups and just seeing the amount of trash that you can pick up and make places nicer than what you found them. It's all
there's no shortage of it, man.
Yep.
And I think there's just a great opportunity to weave that into social occasions. I think we will do a banquet every year for sure, right? Because that's a requirement. But I think that we can get a couple more things, social events that are built into that to benefit Delta, and we can try to work, if it's cleaning up a marsh area or it's doing something like that, we'll work that into that as well. But I'm a big proponent of multiple touches to get things done. I think you're gonna keep folks around that way. It's gonna help you recruit more folks that way.
You guys have so many like parades and like homecomings and everything in that Annapolis area with all the vets and everything.
You mean like Annapolis High School homecomings?
Well, I mean like all the seamen, right?
Seamen.
all the sailors.
You mean the midshipmen?
Midshipmen.
Yes. Annapolis is fresh stocked with seamen. When the ships come in,
tons of it.
Danny boy.
Tons of it. Oh yeah. These pipes are clean. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they.
But like parade, right? Aren't there like tons of parades and stuff? Like you set up a.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did know what you meant, and I know what you mean. Which is, technically you're correct.
I guess they don't call them that anymore. Back in my day, no.
Back in your day, well, we have the Naval Academy, so they're midshipmen. If we were
Gotcha.
Near a larger naval installation, I'm assuming that they would therefore be referred to as seaman first class, Hrushka or something along those lines.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know my ranks.
It's okay, man.
No, but that's super cool. Matt will, keep you in line and help you out any way he can. So that's super awesome that you're getting that started. And I think, with what I've seen, you guys are already going to be successful. And then the banquets, oh man, banquets are fun.
Yeah, they'll be a lot of fun. I've been involved in a couple of things there, on the Coastal Conservation Association side, and done some banquet work, and they are an absolute blast. A lot of work, but it's rewarding work, and it all goes to a very, very worthy cause. In our case, it's keeping birds coming, bringing folks into the fold, staying, keeping the sport propped up.
There you go. What
Yeah.
what is a good contact for you for someone that would be interested in the Delta chapter?
You can hit me up on my email, which would be my last name, Van de Kamp, my first name, David. So it's VANDEKAMPDAVID at M as in Michael, E as in Edward.com. So at me.com. Or you can find me very easily if you're on Facebook. Just punch in David Van de Kamp. I'm the dude who is laying on my side on a field surrounded by ducks in Canada with it's kind of like a waterfowl boudoir pic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to get it framed and put it on a Valentine's Day card for my wife next year. Maybe just
You have one of those
hanging
on the icy rocks of Maine as well.
I did. It's kind of my thing.
It is your thing.
Yeah. I'm looking for more opportunities to pose like that when surrounded by dead winged creatures. So,
There you go.
join Delta and we can make that happen.
You need a giant banner at your banquet with you laying in different areas.
It can be done, Dan. It can be done.
It can be.
Yeah.
Do you have ideas of places that you'd want your banquet?
Yes. Yeah, I've got a few different ideas that I'm already playing with. We're thinking about doing a kind of a soft open to add more folks to the crew. Got a couple bars that are in the mix for that. I've got access to a couple different clubhouses and marinas. So if we do an outdoor thing, we could do, some ideas are like, look, we could do an oyster roast in the colder months. We could do, crab, like a, I don't know what the hell you'd call it, like a crab cook-off or a crab, like a crab feast, I guess. We could do that at another one of the facilities I have access to. Just, again, like social things where we can get a lot of folks together. Everybody likes to eat. Everybody likes to drink, something. And I think together we can do an awful lot of good stuff. We can have just a blast doing it, unless you're a jerk. And if you're a jerk, I don't want you to be part of our crew. So bear that in mind. Rule number one is, the Greater Annapolis chapter, if you're a jerk, you're out.
Not for jerks.
Get along. Yeah. It's the get along gang. All right. If you can't get along, you're not going to be with us. You can go,
and you're right on that. Cause if you're trying to put something together and, the Debbie Downers, just like in a duck blind, you don't want them there. It's
exactly right.
You're a fun sucker. So stay out.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Unless you have a lot of contacts.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be working them for sure.
So, VDK, it was great talking to you, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. It's always a pleasure, Dan. I wish Josh were available, but, there'll be another time. So love what you guys are doing. Love the podcast. Love the group. As always, it's a pleasure. Something of an honor to chat with you, buddy.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to 6 months from now getting on another plane with you, or at least driving around with you in Saskatchewan.
Can't we do both?
Maybe. We'll see where we fly
Maybe.
from.
Well, if we have a connection somewhere.
Yeah. Toronto, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe I'll drive up and just fly out from there.
Actually,
probably not.
I think Al was planning on doing that, coming to Pittsburgh and just flying.
Was he?
Yep.
Okay.
So he's going again.
Awesome.
He's pumped.
Dude, I had such a good time with those guys. Al is a riot.
Yep.
I got one picture that I took of him in the blind. He's just laughing. I think
yep.
It was that one day where we were smashing those snow geese that were coming in. And he was just laughing and laughing. And I just, the one decent picture I've taken with my camera, it's another thing I got to kind of try to figure out, and I've absolutely neglected. But, the one decent picture like that right there, I think is just what it's about, man. We're all hanging out, different generations of folks, different experiences. But, when you break it all down, the vast majority of guys like us, these waterfowling guys, are very similar, like-minded, good-hearted people that like to have a good time. We're social folks, man.
America.
Indeed. God bless her.
All right, buddy. Well, go and give Tex a pat on the head.
Yeah, man.
Tell him he's a good boy, and we will catch up with you soon.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you.
That's going to do it for this episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out some of our past episodes, and while you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's the best way for like-minded hunters just like you to find our show. Check us out on social media, check us out over at hpoutdoors.com, and anywhere you can find quality podcast content. That's going to do it for this week. Till next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.